Pluviose, and welcome to In the Margins. Today we have as our guest, Broward College President Gregory Haile with us. President Haile, thank you so much for joining us here on In the Margins. President Haile is spearheading a number of important initiatives with regards to students who are in the justice system, offenders, ex-offenders, really working to give that population of students a higher education opportunity that we all know will give them a chance, of course, to rejoin society and meet their full potential. And just so glad to have you with us here, President Haile. And I'd like to get right back, right into it here for In the Margins. My first question for you, President Haile, I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about your own background. And of course, there are two important initiatives with regards to offenders and ex-offenders. But I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about what you personally bring to this work and what is the genesis of your own involvement with these two programs that we're going to discuss, of course, in the next few minutes.
Sure. David, thank you very much for the opportunity to share and to spend some time with you. If we start with my own background and how I got engaged in this work, it's really, I'll have to speak broader about it because it's how I engage in the work of community colleges and Broward College in particular. As a young man growing up, I had an interesting engagement with my community. I grew up in South Jamaica, Queens, New York, which during the 80s and early 90s, during a very difficult time, during the height of the crack epidemic, a great deal of challenges in my community. I had bars in every window of my home. I had bullets come through my living room window, and unfortunately, I even lost friends growing up. And I was fortunate enough to learn, and what I would say by a matter of chance, of the opportunity to go to college. I was in the sixth grade. It was 1989. And my mother did something that I would consider courageous, and that is she lied about my address so I could go to school in a better neighborhood. And it turns out that after starting in the third grade to go through the projects, get on the bus for 45 minutes, get off the bus and walk for another 10 to 15 minutes to get to school. And it was 1989, I was graduating from elementary school. That's the sixth grade in New York. And I said to a friend who was from the neighborhood, this better neighborhood, more affluent neighborhood, I said, isn't this amazing? We're going to be the last class of the decade. And he responded immediately, no, we're going to be the last class of the millennium because we're going to graduate college in 1999. All right. And so you have this really fortuitous moment where I learned the word college for the first time from another sixth grader who knows exactly what year he's going to graduate. And, I had the benefit of traversing whatever challenges I had to traverse. There were many, but the goal line was college. And indeed, I did graduate in 1999. And from then on, it has been crystal clear to me that the greatest opportunity for change that I have ever benefited from was my enrollment and graduation from college. And when you think about that broadly, and again, as fortune and hard work and the grace of many would have it, I graduate college in 1999, and less than 20 years later, 19 years later, I end up serving as the president of Broward College, which is designed to do for thousands exactly what college has done for me. And so then the question really becomes, as I think about my background again, David, is I was almost a missed opportunity, just like so many others. And as a community college, as a state college, as we're referred to in Florida, an open access institution, our job is to ensure that we are serving everyone in our community. Yep. Our job is not to miss anyone who seeks the opportunity, willing to work and wants to transform their lives. So as we embark on this discussion, whether it is someone from a low-income community like mine or a challenging community like mine, or someone who is at risk of entering the justice system or someone who is in the justice system, if they seek to transform their lives, it is our obligation, in my view, not just our choice, but our obligation to make sure that those transformative opportunities in the form of higher education are available to them. And if I had my way, they'd be impossible to neglect.
It's interesting. In recent years, there has been some debate over issues and initiatives like Second Chance Pell. And of course, I know that you're very familiar, I'm sure, with the question on the FAFSA application. When applying for federal financial aid, I myself observed this question about drug conviction being a disqualifying element with regards to accessing federal student aid, of course, which has enabled so many to achieve a higher education. I was wondering if you could talk about this Second Chance Pell and other initiatives on the federal level that can support students as they enter this journey, as you talk about students caught up in the justice system whose lives could be transformed just by having access to community colleges and other institutions. I wonder if you talk about some of these initiatives on the national level that are important in your view to support these students that we're discussing today.
Yeah. So one of the things, let's just start from a macro perspective. As we think about this country, our nation, its needs, and satisfying the needs of our people, the people of this country. Oftentimes I know we look at numbers and sometimes we forget that the numbers are made up of people. And as we think about the talent that is required today, and frankly, the shortfall in talent, one critically important element to understand is we have about 11 million job openings in this country today, and we have less than 6 million people looking. There's a lot of reasons for that, but what we have to think about, and especially those in colleges and community colleges, is how do we take responsibility where we can to help fill that gap? And of course, among the ways to fill that gap is to look at those who are incarcerated, who want the opportunity, who can be provided the opportunity to help meet the workforce needs of our community in our country. Now, once you get beyond that, we also have to think, just like any other human being who gets to benefit from a post-secondary opportunity, we know that should they receive quality post-secondary opportunity, they are likely to have a longer and healthier life. They are less likely to find themselves on public assistance. They are more likely to be contributors to their society. And probably in this context, the most critical component is they are less likely, dramatically less likely to recidivate should they have a post-secondary opportunity. So as we think about anyone in our community, let's just ignore for a moment the mistakes that may have been made that lend up to their incarceration. I think most of us recognize that people do make mistakes, and there are those people who make those mistakes and should be given an opportunity to transform their lives, particularly when doing so could make a difference, not only for themselves, but for their families, their communities, and of course, enhance the lives of all of those around them. And so if you get to that point of understanding, and then again, it comes back to the ownership and responsibility for making sure that we are bringing those opportunities to those individuals, regardless of where they're located, regardless of incarceration. And in some cases, like what we'll talk about a little bit later, is a diversion program where we can help avoid incarceration and the return that comes from that as well.
Yeah, and let's pivot to now two programs that, of course, you are spearheading at Broward College. I was wondering if you could talk about, in particular, the Court to College Diversion Program, how it was developed, what was the genesis of this program, and how did the various stakeholders come together to make this program a reality? I was wondering if you talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, David. So I'll harken back to the point about taking responsibility for the challenges of others and trying to ensure that we do the best we can to support those individuals with higher education opportunity. So I had the benefit because before I stepped into the role of college president, I actually was a practicing attorney. I spent my first 7 years of my career actually as a corporate litigator. And then when I joined Broward College, I joined the college as its first in-house general counsel. Now, I say that to you not because the work that I did was in the criminal realm. It was not. But part of the reality was I had built many relationships in that space, friendships, partnerships, in which I'd worked with lawyers who were leaders in their communities to help make a difference in the lives of others in many different ways. But clearly, when I stepped into this seat, as I continue to ask myself, and I know most leaders, many leaders at institutions of higher ed continue to ask themselves, what does it look like to leverage whatever we bring to the table to make a difference in the lives of others? So, David, I will tell you, it was as simple and deliberate as calling for the Court to College Diversion Program, as calling the public defender's office and calling the public defender himself, who had been a dear friend for about 15 years. And that friendship stretched in long part just because of the work we did in the community beyond higher education. And when I sat in this seat, and it wasn't long after I sat in this seat that I gave him a call, and we sat down together face to face. We recognized that there are opportunities to marry his work with the work of the college, and simply talk through what would it look like if we created opportunities for those who were on the precipice of perhaps the most negative challenge that will impact their lives forever. And if we could, with the right individuals, be able to say, as an alternative, what would it be like for you to go to college? And, you think about some of the individuals that we're talking about, they're not unlike what I've described in myself. A lot of them never knew of the opportunity to go to college. A lot of them had never given it a thought. And now you think about the possibility of a judge, the public defender, and the state attorney coming together to say, we think that there's an opportunity for you to transform your life, and here's the moment. And so when this program was launched, and as it continues, what it does is it actually provides the individual with the opportunity to come to school, to come to college with the agreement of any victim of any crime that they've been involved with. And if they agree, then the individual gets to come to Broward College, receive their training, receive their attainment. And then at that time, they will have never had a penance, and any potential penance will have been waived from their record. And now all of a sudden, you've taken someone who could have gone a very, very different direction to one who becomes, by all measures, when you get a college credential, then you start to see very different outcomes. And so we're excited about this launch and the work that we're doing and the difference-making possibilities for the individuals who come through the program.
No, that's phenomenal. And of course, you talk about the connections that in your prior positions and how those connections facilitated the growth of this program. And one thing, of course, that comes to my mind, and I'm sure others that listen to this podcast, is how they too could make similar partnerships. There are people wanting to make a difference in the lives of the incarcerated, but may not know how to go about connecting with those who are in charge of the justice systems in their jurisdictions. And so I was wondering if you have any word of advice for those who might want to launch similar programs around the country, seeing the potential that you have achieved, but may not know how to go about to do that. I was wondering if you could talk about what advice you might have for others seeking to do something similar across the country.
So I used the term earlier that it was, and I hate to downplay it, but I do call it simple and deliberate. As I close on that question, I'll share the other really important critical program that we've been working on as well, and that is the Corrections to College program.
Yes.
And with that launch, what we've been able to do is identify a facility, a corrections facility in Broward County, which is the county that, of course, Broward College is home to. Mm-hmm. And it houses about 100 women who are facing the last 18 months of their sentence. And what we've been able to do now with them, again, first of its kind program for us, is to provide educational opportunities for the last 18 months of that sentence. Yes. So that when they transition, again, they will have the opportunities to meet the workforce needs of an employer, and again, thereby transform their own lives and all the benefits that come with the post-secondary opportunity.
Yes.
So they continue to focus on the simple and deliberate, David. That was as simple and deliberate as me picking up the phone, calling the Florida Department of Corrections, raising my interest and focus on addressing this need and providing for this opportunity. And the Department of Corrections, Florida, welcomed this opportunity with open arms. So I continue to think about and hope that others who look to replicate an effort of this type or efforts of these types is to recognize it is the power sometimes of simply picking up the phone. And it can be the power of a relationship that you've had for 10 plus years. But regardless, the most important element of it is recognizing that the need exists and taking the steps to satisfy that. You know, one of the things I keep thinking about and talking and engaging with my team at the college and beyond about is, you know, there's a lot of institutions that just want to keep the train on the track, if you will.
Yeah.
And that's important. But we have got to be conscious of who we are missing and who should be on that train with us.
Yes.
And so when I keep thinking about, and I do today and I will tomorrow, and for as long as I sit in the seat, the question will always be, who are we missing and who do we need to make sure that the educational opportunity that we believe is all powerful should be exposed to, and currently it is not exposed to. And so whether it is a diversion program where we are doing something relatively unique and making sure that we intercede at a time when someone is facing a massive fork in the road of life,
yes,
or someone who's already been incarcerated and perhaps wonders how is it that they're going to possibly survive once they're released, and us being able to intercede again with the partnership, with the start of a phone call to start the conversation that could lead to a transformative life for someone who's currently incarcerated. So it starts with the mission, David. It starts with the mission of recognition. We are open access and designed to understand who we are missing and go and get those folks to provide educational opportunity. Yeah. And then operationalizing it. Sometimes it has to be the leader. It has to be the president that says, the public defender, you and I are going to make this happen. And then sometimes it's reaching out to a public agency and their leadership and say, we have to make this happen together. And by the way, I'm not afraid to tell you that these conversations actually started before COVID. So it did take time. Of course, our whole world was disrupted, but we had to stay vigilant. We had to stay focused. Our mission never changed. And so again, being that deliberate about ensuring that those opportunities were provided in ways that we are designed to provide them with the right partnership, innovation, and again, deliberate way of moving forward.
You know, of course, there are some skeptics, as always, people who would downplay such initiatives for a number of reasons. And, you know, and you hear those debates even nationally when it comes to where we put resources in, right? The whole concept of investing in prisons or investing in educational opportunities that will reduce, ultimately, we know the stats, the prison populations as people see a way out and a way up. I was wondering if you talk a little bit about dealing with skepticism, those who might not see the potential that so many see in supporting such diversion programs. So I was wondering if you have a word for those who would say it's not worth it.
Well, I would say this. We have a mission at Broward College. Our mission is to lift the lives of others. It is also critically important that we do not stigmatize. We welcome all, regardless of any challenges that they may face. Some of those challenges might include just self-doubt, which I'm sure that many in the justice system face, but those who are not in the justice system face those challenges as well. Some of them may face, like I did, the need for remedial education, and those individuals face doubt. Some of them have challenges relating to transportation. Some of them have challenges relating to the digital divide. Some of them have food insecurity. There is reason to believe that a lot of people cannot make it. Our job is not to focus on any beliefs in why people cannot make it. Our job is to be the difference makers so that those who desire to live their lives through higher education can have the doubt recede, the credential attained, and their life transformed.
Well, President Haile, I just want to say thank you again for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us here on In the Margins. The work you're doing is indeed fascinating. And I believe that those viewing and hearing this episode, will have much to consider about how they can too achieve the success that you have achieved. So President Haile, I want to thank you again for joining us here in the Margins. Much appreciated.
No, thank you so much for the opportunity to share, David. I truly appreciate it.